There's no air.
You want me to take roll?
Yeah.
Kristen Barbara, she may or may not.
Okay, stay here.
Here.
Teresa.
She's making popcorn.
Ooh, she bringing some with her?
Ooh, that could be a good, that could be really. We can send her a
Christine?
message. Yes.
Ricia?
That's me.
Did I say it?
No.
What is it?
Teresa,
Risa.
like Reese's peanut butter cup.
Okay. Eric? Hello. Courtney?
Hi.
All right. Barbara?
She's not
She's-
really over the phone.
Okay. Cheryl? Hello. Michaela? Not here.
Not here.
She's presenting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crystal?
I'm right here.
Luz? Luz?
It's
Luz?
loose.
Okay, L-U-Z.
I mean, it's interesting.
Neil?
I'm welcome.
Glenn?
Mm-hmm.
There he is. James? Sheree?
Oh, no one isn't her.
Oh, she's probably taking a break somewhere.
Okay.
All right, I gotta find out what's wrong. Why it's not recording.
Video's good. You look good. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't shake it.
Okay, that's rough.
You guys want to start or you want to wait for the other people that we know are here?
I think I want to start, because I don't know if they'll actually make it.
Okay, all right, we'll get rolling.
They're lost. They're busy.
They're making snacks.
All right, so real quick, I would love everybody to just go around, introduce who you are and what your role here is at BWI.
Courtney Graham, the receptionist and safety officer.
Okay.
Kristen Warren, Stephanie.
That's what we do. Right?
Lisa Coda, the vice president of finance.
We got the one.
This is Mark Hunt. I am the safety coordinator on the specialist. for high school.
Okay, well, welcome down south there.
Cheryl.
Okay. Okay.
James Wilson, shipping and receiving clerk, Iowa Falls.
Okay.
Third superintendent, I work in the content.
Okay, all right. So, I have 3 rules. I want to be explicit about my 3 rules because I'm the one saying, no, I can make my rules. First one is interrupt. So the goal is not for me to just talk. If you have a thought, share it. If you have a question or a comment, share it. In a group like this, odds are, come sit at the table. And you are?
Teresa Champion.
Okay.
Human resources.
What's that?
Human resources.
Okay.
And popcorn.
I was hoping I could have popcorn.
Ah, you did, what job?
Cheese and popcorn are my 2 favorite snacks on the planet. Now, cheese popcorn is even.
Yeah.
Is that cheese popcorn?
You can make a cheese popcorn.
So if you have a question in a group this size, odds are someone else is going to have a similar question. Now, one of your core values starts with C. That's courage. So speak up.
Everybody here is laughing
All
at
right. So that's the first rule, interrupt. The second rule is take notes. All of our brains have this functionality in them. When we have a concept or a thought, when we physically write it down, it will stick. Like 5 times more than if I just repeat it in my brain. Okay? We're all wired that way. Now, you don't have to write down what I say, or write down what's meaningful to you, the takeaway, the impact, your question, your thought, whatever that is. Write those things down. You will retain more, and you will get more benefit from our time together this afternoon, as opposed to just talking and listening. Okay? Take notes. The third thing is we're all adults, so be respectful of each other. I know some of us have family that maybe things are going on. We have a wonderful little addition in the room. If we have devices, silence them. turn them down, face down, so if something flashes up, it doesn't distract you. If you are trying to pay attention to something at home that's critical, or something with work that's critical, then just be respectful of each other. And make valuable use of this time. So, will you agree to abide by Jared's 3 rules?
Yes.
Thank you. So you see what I did there is I just set an expectation for everyone. Leadership 101 here. We're going to go sideways for a second. Think about the interactions that you have in a meeting with your peers, team members that you are responsible for, solution for. A lot of the frustration and disconnects we have are our faults. Because we never set a clear expectation, and we never actually checked in to find out if they would agree to those expectations, if they understood them, if they agreed to them. And a head nod like this is not agreement. It could be, I wish this guy would shut up so I can get on with what I'm doing. So, sidebar. So we'll put that in.
If I may interrupt,
Yes, please.
I don't know that we got the name. I mean,
Jared.
You just said it, Jared.
Yes. So personally and professionally, I've aligned my life, which is awesome. So I work with a company that provides services to other companies to help them succeed. I also have a consulting business that does things like this, leadership development, training, executive coaching, strategy, and I do work with boards of directors, mostly nonprofit work. About 12 or 13 years ago, I realized that if I could spend my whole day, regardless of what I was doing, with helping others succeed, helping turn the light on for people, or turn on a little bit brighter for people, then I got a lot of personal satisfaction. The crazy thing is the business that I was leading and managing, responsible for financially, went through the roof. It's not because we figured out a better way to make stuff and sell stuff. That's the people were the most important element of any equation. So I gotta do that full time, which is awesome. So I don't get paid monetarily as much as I used to back in the day, but I have a lot more daily satisfaction in my life, which is invaluable. So I get a chance to share some of that with you guys, and hopefully instill some of that with you in what you do in your work. Because the work that you do has such an amazing impact on the community and the lives that has ripple effects that you can't really see where those ripples are going to hit the shore. So I appreciate you guys spending some valuable time this afternoon, and there's time and resources you can invest in bringing yourselves into that. We're going to talk a little bit to start out with about a word called alignment. Right? What's a good definition of alignment?
Sync.
In sync. Oh, that's good. Working together. I didn't like that. When we have a misalignment, or we have even different understandings of what we think that alignment should be, it causes friction. It causes anxiety for us personally. You think about frustrating relationships that you have, a child or a spouse or a significant other, or a boss or an employee. Typically, it results from, I had this expectation over here, they didn't have the same expectation, and so we didn't mesh. The gears were grinding, there was friction, there was frustration. 90% of marriage counseling, when relationships are failing, is really about simple, clear communication. What it comes down to. You take a look at employees maybe that we've had in our organization that didn't fit. We had every expectation that they would fit when we hired them. They were good people. We hired them for a reason. We had every expectation that they were going to work out. But then for some reason or another, they didn't. And typically it isn't because they can't do the work. It's because there was something in terms of the behaviors and attitudes that did not mesh with our expectations or our culture. So clarity around expectations, clarity around missions, clarity around why we come and do the work that we do is vitally important. Now, Glenn did some Simon Sinek training earlier today, correct? into that one? Did he talk at all about the why or core purpose? Did he talk at all about that? You find the same or you do it?
That one was a good.
Okay. So one of the things that he did that got really popular is he wrote a book that says start with why. And that's probably his most famous work. It's not my favorite one that he's done. Then I had a conversation about what my favorite one was. It wasn't favorite one, but it's still good stuff. But that's where we're going to start for this afternoon. It's going to be about purpose. But before we dive into the purpose, we can talk about alignment of understanding. So is anyone in here not a native English speaker? How early on in your life did you start speaking English?
I'm close to like second grade.
Okay. Where were you educated? Anybody educated, not educated in the Western United States? Anybody go to private school versus public school? Okay. So at least we have a common understanding, right? So most of us learned English at an early age. You had a little bit of a disadvantage. It took you about 7 years until you got into super class, but you were educated in the public school system in the Western United States. So we should have a very common understanding of things. So if we talk about understanding communication, we should have a pretty good foundation to start with. So I'm going to hand you out some workbooks. And feel free to take notes on these if you want to, but I think most of you were given little notebooks for today. If you're going to keep those in reference, that would be a great place to take notes. But you are going to use these workbooks. Okay. And I think we bought some notebooks for our company from the same place you got your notebooks, because it's the same cover, the same size. It doesn't have the DWI logo. We got the Pro and print for it. Okay, so you should all have a page that looks like this. As your front page. We're actually going to play a game. We'll break into teams. Ten. We'll have 2 groups of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Luke's over with these folks. Stay in your seats. We'll have other teams, 5 and 6. That theoretically may give an advantage. Who knows? You guys know categories of the game. You roll the dice, it has a letter. You're supposed to write down the word that begins that letter. You're playing a similar one, but this is a synonyms category. So a synonym, just to define that, is a word that is spelled differently that has the same meaning. Okay? When it has different spelling, it has the exact same meaning as the word. So you're all going to write down as many synonyms of the common word I'm going to give you, and then I'll give you instructions from there. You're only going to have 45 seconds. You don't have a lot of time. No, individual. Yeah. So you're going to start individually. So don't look at each other's pages. So we're going to give you a common word, and you're going to write down those synonyms. So I have to wait until I watch. Oh, here she comes back. Didn't give you a worksheet. Okay, real quick recap. What are we going to do? Anybody want to repeat the instructions?
We're going to write down a word, and then we have 45 seconds to come up with synonyms.
Yes. Do you understand what synonyms are?
Yes.
Or words spelled differently, but means the same? Okay, everybody good? Okay, I checked for understanding there. A little bit of a sidebar. All right, so you'll have 45 seconds to write down as many synonyms of this word. Supervisor, go. Stop. That was 45 seconds. That was fast. I need to take a longer break because I need more popcorn. Okay. So, couple up in your teams, you're gonna compare lists. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give you kind of instructions in here. The first instruction is compare your lists. The words that you have exactly the same that all of you have, not just two or three of you, but all of you have, circle those. Okay? Compare your lists. Circle the ones that you all have in common. So move around. And then when you're done, somebody raise your hand, yes, you are. Oh, well, I'm sorry, Christie said you're on. Yeah, so if you have a no, don't circle.
I got leader. Not all of us. Not all of us. Got lost. Yes, I got lost on that process.
That's right.
The director. I have a cowboy. I have significant other. Our chief. And part of someone else, that's still leader. Mentor. I have that. No. Any of them? No. So we all have lost. Well, I haven't even had any trouble.
Okay. Has everybody gone through and gone your list as far as all in common yet?
No.
No, we're done.
Not a match for all of us.
No one's got a match for everything? You guys have a match yet? That everybody's got the same thing? Huh, hang on a second. Time out. You all speak English, right? Who's had a supervisor? Any supervisors in the room? So how come we don't have 100% alignment in what supervisor means?
Because we're all unique individuals with personalities and normal certain outcomes.
Okay, so what happens when we bring our own definitions, values, and viewpoints to a common purpose? And I want to do it this way, and you want to do it this way. What does that do to the impact of the organization? Oh, absolutely does.
Also, sometimes creates
Contention, chaos, confusion. What happens if I work for you and you define it as cowboy and boss? But Eric defines it as mentor, leader. What am I supposed to do with that? Well, you define it one way and somebody defines it a different way. What does that do to my productivity? What does that do to my confidence and my ability to execute on the mission? It does. Big time.
I don't know which definition you want to follow. Is it one of the ones more with what your definition is? Or is it the one that you align more because that's a bigger boss than that?
Yeah. Biggest stick wins or make me feel comfortable. Those are the two things. That's how I am now forced to make decisions. Or who's in the room. Have you had employees like that? Depending on who's in the room, is how they show up. What kind of confidence does that give you, them, to actually be able to follow through and do something that's critical to the organization? They show up differently with different people. Not a lot of confidence, right? That breeds mistrust. Okay, so we beat that point. Now, what I want you to do is underline the items that anybody in your group has in common with you. Yep, so If two of you have it, or three or four, and not everybody, underline that word.
I was sitting here trying to think, what's another word?
Has everybody underlined? Okay, so this is a little bit more complicated now. Get somebody with some maybe fine art skills. What I want you to do is I want you to identify the total number of unique words in your group. What I mean by unique words, two of you have the same word, it counts as one word. Three of you have the same word, it counts as one word. Okay? And then all of the other things that aren't overlapping with anybody, obviously are. So I need two numbers from you. You're going to do some math, because we're going to do a percentage. Somebody has a device that has a calculator. Almost every other planet does nowadays. I want you to take the number of common words, the underlines, divided by the total number of unique words, and get me a percentage.
As a group or on our own?
As a group. Kind of hard to do it on your own because all of your words are unique to you.
No, I didn't. I think my underlying is.
Yeah, so as a group, this is good.
So all, you have all the copies.
All
underlines together.
I have one. So there's four of us?
No, so that's one. So four of you have box, you have box ones. Yeah. Just two or more, two other ones.
Oh, like this one.
That's a common word.
That's unique.
So that's. That's 1 point. All of your words are unique. So how many words do you have?
I had four words, but only two are unique. And one of them was just kind of a joke. I'm leader. On my mind. Does anybody else have, I have those on the sheet. Does anybody else have what? I just told on the sheets are supposed to be. I have boss, chief, leader, and significant other. My husband's my supervisor.
You surprise you, you surprise me. So on here, you add up unique plus the common. I just gotta shove it up. This plus this. This. You guys have that number? How much percent is that? 60?
Did you say what about the content in total?
Yeah, so add the unique and common together. The math is common divided by the unique plus the common.
Is
The math. Okay, so this is gonna be Team East, because that is the east part of the. East, have we done the math? What's your percent of alignment? 31%.
I can't change your answer yet, there. I'm on. Remember, I have very few hearings. I don't know.
Yeah, and I said, you don't write that down. We're gonna put it up.
Okay, so how's the math over here? Still working?
666.
so- I think there's still, okay, clarification. Basically, we're trying to get the total number of words
Mhm.
and
Yes.
then divide, and then
Divide the common words, divide by the total number.
by the total number. So it's the common divided by.
Common divided by the total number.
No, no, it's
Common
common by
divided by
total, by total.
Yeah, the
Better
total.
safe than
Not
sorry.
very said, common plus.
That's the denominator.
It's like retail math.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's retail minus the wholesale divided by the retail.
Right?
So we had
This year? Minus last year, divided by. We were gonna find out.
No, I don't do that.
She does right.
Stop. That's what I'm telling you. Stop.
Yes,
You're good.
What's our percent?
I don't say no.
62.
62?
What was your total?
West.
No, we didn't have that many words.
So think about this for a second.
We had 13 words.
At best,
Or it doesn't mean that.
with people who have been working together for a while, who have a common background, at best, we have a shot at a 62% alignment. Who feels great about a 62% chance of alignment? No, not good at all.
That is not.
That is just better than the roll of the dice and winning. Okay? But that's where we're at. So we do this as an example, because it's so big of an extreme example. You know, obviously, a big purpose around this is to really prove the point. When we have misalignment of something that we take for granted, we open up a huge pit that we tend to step in every single day. And we create it. We really do. So as a leadership group, it's really important to have alignment about what matters most. Anybody in this room can quote, word for word, the mission statement.
Our mission is to assist individuals who are disabled or disadvantaged to achieve their chosen level of economic and social. Did I miss a word?
No. Let me ask you this question. What's your job at DWI? What's your job?
Shipping and receiving.
What's your job? What's your job? What's your job? So I hate to burst your bubble, but you were wrong, folks. Really are. This is where we start. That is not your job.
My job is to assist
Say that again, out loud.
My job is to assist individuals who are disabled or disadvantaged to achieve their chosen level of economic and social.
No matter what you do, that is your job. When we as a leadership group and influencers don't really have that written in our gut and in our heart that that's your job, and we view our job as shipping, receiving, or payroll and finance, we are causing friction and we're slowing down the organization. you're also doing a disservice to yourself emotionally.
I might disagree,
Okay?
because I think shipping and receiving is a very integral part of the overall mission. But without that job, or without her job, taking that from receiving work,
So those are tasks.
I think they're jobs.
Okay.
I think our mission is our mission.
So come with me a little bit more along this path and see if you maybe change your mindset on this. I can have shipping and receiving, in a warehouse that contracts out to do FinFund flippers and Melaleuca cosmetics. That's my job. Nothing to do with the mission of my organization. Studies show when we view our job as the task we do, we have less emotional investment, have worse health and wellness outcomes, and our organizations suffer. Because I view the contributions of my day, getting this task done, no end in sight. If I'm just shipping and receiving, they're always pushing crap through. They always are. Because production is
Definitely.
always
That's right.
Crack in, crack out.
That's right. And it's very disheartening.
We started at one end and it comes down.
It does. We become the digestive system for the organization, is what it is. And we can, and it's never done. It never stops. And it actually doesn't do anything to further truly the mission, because I could do that job anywhere. But I choose to do it with UWI. When people ask you, what do you do for a living? There's two answers you can give them. Well, I run shipping or receiving department. How much interest is that going to generate an impact on the impact of the organization and community?
Usually when I talk to people about it, I look at it. Just like you said, I kind of say, as a whole, we work with people with disabilities to help them have opportunity. And see, my job, my part in that is.
See, that's the mindset that we have to get into. It's my job.
Do I always remember that?
Right. That's what we're going to say. And we did this with the people for your second. You all have to understand, my job, regardless of what I do, is to further the mission of the organization. We should receive it. Through payroll. But we approach it differently. So the world is always looking at stressors on ourselves. And whether it's physical or emotional or societal, economic, or health, we all experience stressors in our lives. A great example is physical exercise, or rehab after injury or illness. If I go through and am forced to do something not of my choice, and I don't see an end in sight, the same physical things that will help get me healthier will actually hurt my well-being. If I'm forced to do some stressful physical exercise or work of any sort, it raises my blood pressure. I have a worse attitude about it, and I actually have a worse outcome. I'm more sore. It runs me down. I do the exact same thing in the exact same physical circumstances, but I choose to do it because I have an end in goal or have a purpose for doing that. It has the exact opposite effect on my body, physiologically. My blood pressure goes down. I recover quicker. I have a better peace of mind. You've seen this with friends and family, and maybe even some of you, who maybe have some catastrophic illnesses or cancer, something that comes up for a while. Is person A might be healthy and strong and robust and get the same diagnosis as person B, but person A decides to dwell in woe is me, and this really sucks. Why me? Person B over here is going, okay, this is a crappy hand I've been dealt, but I'm going to choose to be positive, choose to make a positive contribution to the people around me as much as I possibly can. And the data shows that the person with the better attitude and outlook has better outcomes. Statistically significant better outcomes than having bad attitude about it.
I could attest to that personally, and everybody here that makes it jumps. When I went through my chemo, so this disease is what changed, right? I mean, I didn't broke once, I didn't care. Lose weight, I had radiation, I never had any external stimulants. But the person who was getting the same chemotherapy drugs as I did next to me fared much, much worse. I like to think I was just blessed. But then I'm thinking, maybe I had a better attitude about it than what was the person, because that's what I want. So I can attest to that. For sure.
So think about that. Two Harvard professors, one was a mathematics guy, and the other guy was a leadership business professor. They did a longitudinal study of 75 different publicly traded companies in similar spaces. They tracked them since inception. Like some of them for 100 years or more. They did all of the research. Organizations that had a clear purpose of having a positive impact beyond just the transaction, compared to their same equivalent competitor, had better profit margins, grew faster and more sustainably, and delivered better shareholder return to the stockholders than the people that were out just to conquer the world and make money. Data supports this. We have to get our heads around. My job is not the front desk. Not my job. It's what I do to further the mission of the DWI. My job is to
Assist individuals who are disabled or disadvantaged, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, exactly. We should all learn that. If we can't learn the big thing, how we explain it to the group before here, you know what? My job is to help individuals with disabilities to live as successfully and independently as possible. That's my job. I didn't write it, I wrote it, I know it, I wrote it, you guys have known it. But that is a fast little elevator pitch. When you say that to yourself, this is my job, what impact does that have on your attitude in the morning when you come to work? When I think about the mountain of stuff I have to do, and the stuff I didn't do yesterday that I have to get caught up on, in addition to the stuff that's happening today.
Always.
5 different systems that plug in to actually delivering a payroll.
That's like, he's on to us.
Yeah.
No, we had this moment.
We've had this conversation before.
It's written on the wall, and I was like, what do I do? Anyway, but the difference is in our attitude. When we take the attitude that my job, help these people, okay, so I have to do this crap. That's all right. I get it done. I'm choosing to do this with a purpose, not as this is my job. that I really hate. You can have the same circumstances, the same frustrations, the same challenges, the same dysfunction, the same COVID stuff that happens, and have a really good attitude and work your way through it. Because you realize that that stuff that I have to do is serving a noble purpose. That's my job. When I choose to do this as male, or when I try the system, or I don't like working for Jared, whatever that is, then I get caught in the moment. I am choosing to be the negative Nelly who's receiving chemo and radiation. I'm choosing my outcome. That's one of the first things that gets thrown under the bus all of our days as adults, is that we cede or give up our choice, and we don't even know we're doing it because we plug and play. Get up, shower, dress, breakfast, I grab coffee, and I go to work to do this thing. As opposed to up, shower, dress, breakfast, coffee. I get to have a positive impact. Individuals who have disabilities. Helping them to live absolutely possible. Same circumstances, same routine, different attitudes. You know when somebody comes to work with a bad attitude. What about, you ever take a bad attitude home with you? How's that play at home with the family?
usually a silent treatment for a couple of days.
At best. Right? You ever know marriages that dissolve or relationships that dissolve because they can't let go and take it out of people? So I had a CEO once upon a time I was working with, been divorced 3 times. Yeah, he was just, I mean, he would peel ping off the wall with his language, talking about sales reps, financial planning people. He was a jerk. And I said, David, you just home? Oh, no, I'm compartmentalized. Third marriage. Data shows he's probably been consistent. So from my experience, people are remarkably consistent. We do not put on a set of clothes, this is how we show up at work, truly in our hearts. We don't. We fool ourselves and lie to ourselves. We do that. So the focus that we have in the alignment is number one, around we need to really understand the mission. What is it we do? What impact we deliver to the community and to our stakeholders? And our stakeholders are the clients that we serve. Stakeholders are also the partnership businesses that we have. If we lead a negotiation for a new business contract, and we talk about our production capacity, we talk about the expertise that we have, we talk about the low cost that we provide, we're choosing to compete on ground that's really not centric to our mission. But if we go to someone and say, hey, look, we exist and have a positive impact on the lives of those really like you to work with us doing that. Oh, and by the way, here's our capacities, here's our expertise. We're going to win more times than not, because what we're doing is we're finding alignment between values that matters to people. When we try to force alignment, they don't value those things that exist in our mission. We're always trying to fight the same battle over and over again, whether it's deliveries, or whether it's quality, or whether it's costs. Because we choose to base a relationship based on things that really don't matter to us. We can probably find ways to serve the mission by maybe changing the product or the service portfolio that we provide. And there's nothing wrong with that. When we view ourselves as we want to run a great swimming floor and we want to maximize the capacity of the swimming floor, then guess what takes precedence when we have to make tough decisions? As we throw the mission under the bus. Because I'm concerned about my job is to make sure that that swimming floor is as effective as possible. That's not my job. My job is to serve the mission of the organization.
In our management, we talk about return on investment and return on mission. So if it doesn't have a return on mission, it doesn't matter.
Yep. And I would challenge you guys to start with return on mission first. If it doesn't pass that gate, I almost don't care what the return on investment is. Right? Same thing with for-profit organizations. If it's not consistent with the mission and purpose, and suggesting ROI on the dollars, it's so frustrating. Everybody that wants to have a branded emotional connection with the work that they do. Very few of us in the world sign up to go to work and invest our time and energy in something that doesn't bring meaning to the time that I spend investing in it. And hopefully everybody here is mature enough to understand that buying the time is not nearly as worth as buying the meaning. I'm buying things at the time that I'm investing in the organization. So it starts here with you folks. What meeting are you buying into first thing in the morning before you can work? How do you define the job that you do? And it should be aligned with the mission of the company. So that's where I really, really want you guys to understand it. Nothing else you take away. Alignment around the mission of the company, regardless of your role, to get you further faster. Help you happier, to be better coworkers, better leaders, better supervisors. Are you doing that?
I think it's,
You go ahead.
I think it's, if you
It is, and I think many of us are here for that reason, but I think sometimes you get caught in the weeds sometimes.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to get out of it sometimes, or you just get overwhelmed with it. And I think it really is up to everybody else to try to pull each other out sometimes, because it's easy each day to just get overwhelmed with something and you lose sight.
You do.
And I verify, being in HR, to many of my management, that everybody is overreaching and doing what their job description is, because they feel a sense of responsibility to help and, help their teammates out, because we're all
Yeah.
just trying to really show up.
One thing, having that common purpose and align around what we do, serving the mission, it actually takes stuff off of our plates. Doesn't sound like we're doing it. Because we start to question, are we doing things to do things? Because we get a commitment when we ask someone to do that. We're actually doing it because it serves the mission. We only have a finite amount of time and energy in any given day. And everything is not always going to be done every single day. So how do you decide what you spend your time on today? Is it the things that matter most? Or is it just I'm in the weeds? And this is what I see in front of me. It's a mess. Somebody's complaining about it. It's that. We're all on the same page and aligned around the work that we do as a part of the mission. Then we can have a quick self-check. We all have it. So if you've heard of decision fatigue, it's a thing. HR decision. From an energy standpoint, we all have a finite amount of decision-making capacity in our bodies and in our egos, right? There's a finite amount of energy. Have you ever been in this conversation after a long day of work and kid or husband or wife comes up, what's for dinner? How do you respond?
I cannot do this right now.
Yes. You have experienced decision fatigue. You have.
I don't know, what are you cooking?
So we drive my wife nuts, but finally she started to understand this. I had a lot of stressful jobs for a lot of years. I would just come home and max out. Everybody wants a piece of you all day long. And I'm making decisions that, like, are we going to fire these 6 people? Are we going to lay off the ship? That kind of stuff. And I was like, stressful. And it would be, Friday night, date night, let's go to dinner. I would ask her, I really wanted an answer. Where do you want to go for dinner? Oh, I hate this. Oh, it doesn't matter. Where do you want to go? Like, no. Just please make a decision for me. And then we would argue.
Should tell me what you say.
And then and my default is Mexican. My grandparents are Texas, and we'll have to down something on that Texas. I can eat all day long. So my default. So if she didn't have an answer, I would say, let's do this next. I don't want to eat that. Okay. We do the same thing with each other at work. When we have a common understanding of the alignment on mission, and we see our job, regardless of the tasks that we do, to serve that mission, it takes the decision to we had different conversations in our meetings. We have different decision making internally. I've got these 6 things to do. And it's not about which boss is in the room or who's going to yell at the office. Some things have to be done on time. People have to get paid on time, where it takes a lot of other documents. So that's a kind of color by water kind of event. Very rarely anything else are really that hard and fast. If the shipment needs to get out and they know the organization, rather than burning a lot of frustration and anxiety and causing chaos, if we say, hey, you know what? There's more important things going around. Maybe we need to do some training with some of the staff. It's more important to do that. We get the shipment out on time, or the production order finished. Really easy to make a decision. Call the account manager, call the customer and say, hey, this isn't go out until tomorrow because we're working on training our mission of people, right? So it's gonna be complete, but it's gonna ship tomorrow instead of today. You okay with that? 99.9% of the time, what's gonna be the response? Not a big deal. Okay, no problem. We'll figure it out. We're not saving lives. We're not delivering life-saving equipment to battle zones or to crash sites or to hospitals. We're producing and delivering services and goods that are discretionary in nature or they're service in nature. It takes a lot of the pressure and anxiety out of our day today. But all we do is bounce against the mission. All we're actually doing. We're running the mission and bounce our decisions against it. It takes a lot of the decision and the anxiety completely out of our day. You have to be on the same page about that. Because no one in the room can know. When we focus on the task in our job, and we make that the most important thing, we create conflict and anxiety in the organization, and we have a mismatch of patients. If we expect that the mission comes first, everything else serves that, it takes a lot of drama out. It really does. So we kind of skipped ahead, but that job, this is my job and my role. I'm going to give you literally just 1 minute of silence. I want you to write down where you are today after we've had this little bit of discussion. What is your job? And then what is your role? All right. Go around the room. Good job.
Well, after the discussion, it's achieving the mission through shipping and receiving product.
Okay. Good job. What's your job?
This is people in there.
What's your job? Okay, you said it 3 times. What's your job? No, you say it. I need to hear words from you. What's your job?
The mission, feed it, serve it, protect it.
Awesome. Go ahead, what's your job?
To help those who are disabled and disadvantaged become a successful independent citizen.
What he said, but like, that's not it.
Say the words.
Oh, man, to help individuals who are disabled and achieve their social and economic and available for the
Awesome. And you can make it your own. If you make it your own like that, now you're trying to internalize it. We're not just writing it on a piece of paper, we're actually writing it in our gut and in our heart. It's really important to own this. It's not just a paycheck, it shouldn't be a paycheck. We did a little bit of a thing with the client about 2.5 years ago. And they had difficulty in terms of crafting their core values and their mission. They actually serve adults with disabilities, so it's a residential facility. You probably have some of the people that come through the programs. show this a wallet card. You would talk about the mission on one side, and flip it over, and it would have their core values. And when they hired people, they found that people were like, hey, can I have this? They did it on purpose, because now they're asking to adopt and own the mission and core values. And it was a credit card size wallet card that you could go in your pocket, their purse, or your wallet. Now, they're physically adopting mission and core values. As a leadership team, for you guys to be on the same page and really adopt that, even make it your own language, so it doesn't have to be word for word, as long as it addresses the impact of the mission, what your contribution is to that. So that's why the second one says, what's my role at DWI? That's where yours is kind of matching to one. Right? I do that through this. I do that through this. That makes an awesome elevator pitch. Because you have responsibility to forward the mission of DWI when you're off the clock. That's where some of the most meaningful work you can do is outside of business hours. Because that becomes just part of who you are. Unfortunately, we spend way too much of our awake day trading our time and energy for money. If you apply that time and energy for money in your day for something that's meaningful for you, you'll sleep really good. You'll get up happier in the morning. And as soon as you align what you do, who you are, then you can't help but attract people around you. You don't have to align with the work that you do, but you're more authentic and grounded as a person. And authenticity as an individual is one of the strongest attractors in terms of just good karma in the world, good relationship with others. So that's why I like doing these kinds of things. So Glenn asked me before, hey, how'd you do? Well, I had fun. I shared something meaningful to me, and hopefully it was meaningful to somebody else. And that's what I do on Sundays, Saturdays, Fridays, Thursdays, all the way back to Mondays. That's how I try to show up. You guys can do that with the noble purpose of the why. It will generate resources for the organization. Decision fatigue goes way down. And you'll be able to attract people with the same kinds of core values, but you actually raise the bar. And you're going to be able to attract even greater people to come and make greater contributions. So flip to the back. I was going to draw this, but I like to do it artist. And we're also punched for time. So you have core values. I drew you a nice little diagram. I would challenge you and strongly suggest you take this page, put it up at wherever you work, your workstation, so that you see this wherever you are, first thing in the morning when you come in. Because it's going to be some reminders. The reason I put core values around that is because core values protect the organization, the culture, and the mission of the company. When we let people define what matters most in interaction, at best, we're going to get a 61% overlap on alignment at best. On average, we're going to probably get 30% or less. So if I work for Reese, I work for Reese, she's not around. She's on vacation. Hopefully she takes one of those occasionally. And I have a decision to make. Task that I'm responsible for, or that she's responsible for, she's not around. And I didn't have independent decision making. If I bounce it against the mission at one point on a map, and bounce it against our core values at another point on a map, theoretically, any decision I make that's anchored on those 2 points is going to be a good decision. It might not be the best decision, or maybe the way that she would have done it, or the way she would like me to do it, but it should be acceptable. It shouldn't be a cause to write me up, with HR. It could be a coaching moment, right? Because a great supervisor is going to say, hey, Jared, tell me about why you did it this way? Well, number one is, I had a mission. What was the best, the right thing to do to serve the mission of the company? That was courage, because owners around to ask, but it had to get done. So I did it anyway. You know, I did, you know, whatever it was, she could work with that. But I had the experience to get it right, or the way that she would have done it. But that would have been an instance where she should have applauded. Encouragement. It's awesome. Because you're aligned with what we're trying to do here. Now, when anything comes up like this in the future, here's some things to consider. There's some processes that you should follow. You should follow the process. Or here's some impacts of maybe doing it a different way, so that we have a better outcome. What she's doing is she's actually fulfilling the mission with me. I might not be disadvantaged. I might not be disabled. She's putting the mission into action for me. I'm sorry, for me. I can be a professional paid staff, no disabilities whatsoever, but we have the same responsibility to each other as we do the individuals who have disabilities. Because if she really owns the mission, she's going to want me to be as successful, independent as I possibly can, which means I might need some coaching, I might need some training. I might need a sort of kick in the butt to catch my attention, but it's going to be followed up with support, training, coaching, and setting an expectation so that we have the same alignment for the future. And then if we do that together, and she's out and making a new independent decision, I'm going to stop and think. We had this conversation, it's not the same thing, but I need to consider these things. Now I become more independent, more confident, more self-sufficient. So the mission and our role is not just for the disadvantaged stakeholders that we serve. We just stop there, we missed the boat, we missed the impact. The mission of the organization applies to every stakeholder, vendors, employees, community partners, resources, and markets. The power that having clarity and alignment on mission is it gives you leverage in every single situation. It always puts you in a position where you can make choices as opposed to see the choice by just thinking that, well, crap, I'm just going to get whatever I'm going to get today. No. If you're on the mission, I can do stuff with the stuff today. And any decision I make serves that higher purpose, it's consistent with my core values, is a good decision. Might not be the best, still a good decision. How many bad decisions do you see made? Of course, we get today.
Yeah.
So this is actually addition by subtraction. I talked to you about it. It takes the decision to keep down because we're just bouncing up against the best purpose, the highest goal. It also helps us understand that if we anchor these decisions between core values and mission, that actually, if we get that all the way downstream, just in our departments, not necessarily with all of the clients that we work with, just as important. If we just do it there, it's amazing how fewer bad decisions get made. So that means it takes the temperature in the room down, it takes the frustration level down, there's less redoing of work. There's looking for opportunities to coach and develop, as opposed to bottling up until your crap sack is so full you really dump it on somebody. But unfortunately, the sad thing is we dump it on the wrong person oftentimes. And then we're going to have the receiving end of that one, where you were the straw that broke the camel's back, and yours was mighty. You studied oh, right? Or it could have been made for, but you get unloaded by mistakes, one's mistakes, other people's mistakes, get unloaded on you. It has that make you feel for the loss. Well, those are not really happy. Takes a few days or a couple of weeks to get over it. And those couple of days or a couple of weeks, you lose momentum, you lose engagement, passion. Absolutely. Yeah, radical candor. So if you talk about critical conversations, you can almost invariably impossible to have a bad conversation if it starts with, hey, I just want to set the stage. Make sure we're on here. What we're both here to do is to serve the mission of the organization, but provide as much independence and success for those with disabilities as possible. That's what we both do. We start out on the same common foundation, say, okay, now we have an issue that we talked about because it's slowing us down in the mission. I probably don't part of it. I think you're a part of it. So let's talk about it. Get it on the table. You don't beat around the bush. So if I see something that somebody really screwed something up, one of my core values is respect. What's that?
You're personally challenged directly.
Yes. So that in action is how we approach conversations. That goes wrong. Expect you to tell you the truth directly, but treat you like an adult. Not make this about you as a person, but make this about things that you solve. We can all be on common ground there. But if I violate that, it's somebody with disrespect, or I use position influence as opposed to we're here to serve some purpose. But I'm not violating that. I need to call it. You need to call it general. So those core values should be non-negotiable. They're not role dependent, situation dependent, or color dependent. They're clean by. That's why they protect. They're on the outside. They're the armor that allows you to serve for a core purpose. Your roles fit in between those two rings, right? The roles are focused on the bullseye. All need to deliver. That's our job. We're supported and protected by owning and living those core values. And if we are consistent between those 2 points, we can all move faster. Yes. It's all about alignment. It starts with personal alignment, then it goes with organizational alignment. If those 2 things, there's nothing that can stop. So I need your feedback, please, and thoughts. On the left, turn to the last page, please. We have about 5 minutes left on our talk together. There's a page that says my plan or my commitment. I'm going to give you 2 minutes of silence. No more than 3 things. It could be one thing, it could be many as 3 things, or it just could be a couple of sentences. Based on what we discussed today and the other things that you guys have discussed with people, what's most important to you that you're going to take action on. Focus on the mission. Really good about you being aligned with the work that we do. All right, 2 minutes. All right, time's up. If you want to come back and revisit it, we can later on. So in front of witnesses and your peers, love to have you share what your
sometimes I have a bad attitude in the morning, so I don't want to go to work. So what I'm going to do is remember why I go to work.
Awesome. We're good with. Just make it your focus. Grab some glasses. Great.
I will consider not just start population. And balance mission.
Good. Awesome.
It's a lot like her company, to serve the mission and its population.
Good. Wonderful.
Remind myself, remind myself.
Just like, what mission statement is right and help others run all missions.
Super.
Communicate issues early on and ask for guidance.
Awesome.
Express my wants and needs of workers and to help them also understand why we want.
Regardless of our role, one of the roles that we have when we choose to work socially with others is to help others. What we're all trying to do. Not just the role of leadership, resources, or program managers. We all choose to spend time together. You can choose to spend your time in a lot of different places. Whatever crazy reason you chose to serve it, spend it here. So helping each other succeed is a real vital part. Really good output. I love the fact that we can come together on a periodic basis and really set what's foundational. I would encourage you, those of you who lead groups and run meetings, try to find a way to make a touch point in all of your interactions in those meetings, whether it's one-on-one in terms of the supervisor, or you, whether it's a senior staff meeting, whether it's just a production meeting. Just remind the group of why we're here. When people start to joke about it, you know you're getting the message. And sometimes it seems a little bit awkward because we haven't done that in the past. Really powerful tool, if for no one else, for you. Because it's that reminder that it's not about getting this job done, but why am I here? We're going to wake up happier. A coworker a couple years ago, one of his first jobs in high school was literally cleaning porta potties. So his tagline was, and it was really crappy work. When you think about that, put him on the back of the truck and take him down the road. You know what happens with all that stuff? In the tank. That was his job. Him, rubber boots, gloves, and a power washer. Really, really crappy. But on the other hand, it's how he chose to approach the work that he cared about. Chose to take that because he was saving money for a specific purpose. Wasn't it? He was just doing a job that happened to pay a little bit more because it was so nasty. And it really wasn't demanding. It was about it. Open the door, let the rain and sunshine. That was all it was. But they had a lot of turnover in the job because it really seemed to be small stuff. He said, roll the summer, doing it even the summer. Because he had a noble purpose for why he was doing that work. So if you can anchor on that noble purpose, any takeaways? Because we're out of time. Any thoughts, takeaways, feedback? Yes, please.
Yeah, we know. Back to this category.
Yes.
I feel like just the energy of the room went down a little bit. You know what? We're all individuals. Just like this little sign over here says.
Uh-huh.
We're all given the same cards, but we're all unique and different. I celebrate our diversity among us. People people we serve. And I don't think we should all have the same answers.
Well, we should.
Right now. We
But
should.
that is a forced exercise, so again,
Does that make sense?
it does.
But I don't want us to feel like, oh, really, got what, 31% of the members. Does that really matter, or does it matter that we all have our own thoughts? Build upon our strengths. That's
You
all I
know,
want to do.
you're exactly right.
If we're all going in the same direction, or we're
And
aligned.
I feel like we are.
Well, I do too. I think
I
that
don't want us to feel like
being in alignment also helps to build a cohesive team, because you're all going, you all have the same goal in mind, and you're going the same direction. So you're gonna work together to get the end result.
But to your point is, diversity is one of the core values. So we're stronger when we are different. Magic is aligning the differences in mission. So unfortunately, my intent was not to bring the energy down, but it's to just have an exercise that you could understand the importance of life. So thanks for sharing that. Any other feedback or any other takeaways for you from this session? Well, thank you all. Give yourself a round of applause. You did good work. I'm sure it's a great mission.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, George.
Yeah.
Thank you. The 31% is one of the highest scores I've seen.